Oh, I'm live. Didn't realize I was live. That went fast. Ah, people are starting to appear. Cool. So I have to admit, I made a boo-boo today, or maybe last week. I forgot to set up this live for today. Oh, I've realized it's very echoey in my office. I forgot to set up the live for today, so I've literally only done it like 10 minutes ago. So I'm not sure how many people are going to get it. So the person who has arrived, hello, would you just type and let me know that you can hear me okay? Just say hi. Oh, you've gone. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, I'll just wait and see if anybody rocks up. What a mistake to make. Hello, 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 beautiful people. Hey, bitten, how are you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. Am I really echoey? Does it sound really echoey in here? Oh, wow. You got your offer that you've accepted today. That is absolutely awesome. Somebody else has just let me know that they got an offer that they they've been offered the role and they're waiting for the actual offer to come through. So that is awesome. Congratulations. Whilst we wait for other people to, oh, good, not too much of an echo. It sounds really echoey to me. Bitten, whilst we're waiting for other people to show up because I completely messed up and forgot to schedule this. It's been a crazy week. What role did you get, Bitten? Let us know. And Chaitali, I hope I pronounced your name right. Welcome from Manchester. Welcome, welcome. Actually, my husband and I were just talking about Manchester about an hour ago. I think I only been once, and that was in the late 90s. Late 90s. Oh, I got your name right, Chaitali. Okay, I'm so pleased. It's always such a guessing game. Bitten, you're going to tell us what role you got offered. I'm very excited to find out. Do tell. Right. So we're going to wait a couple of minutes and see if other people show up. As I say, I completely messed up and forgot to schedule this. I don't know how I did that, but I have all sorts of reminders set. I really need an EA or a PA or somebody to do all that type of stuff for me. But I need to make more money to be able to pay them. But that's another story. Okay, Bitten, you got TPM. Now, technical product, the technical product manager would be a PMT, wouldn't it? So you've got a technical program manager role for a fulfillment tech in Seattle. Very cool. I love Seattle. Are you from Seattle already? Is that where you're already located? Because if not, you're in for a treat if you're moving to Seattle. It is so gorgeous. If I was going to move to the States, I have to say Seattle would be my choice of place to go. It's just so gorgeous and quite similar, well, not aesthetically, but just kind of diversity-wise, pretty similar to London, I think, although much smaller, much smaller. All right, so let me do my intro. Oh, you're in New Jersey right now. Oh, bitten. I mean, I've never been to New Jersey. My brother lived in New Jersey for a while whilst he was working in New York. Hopefully I've got that right, I think. So I've never been, but wow, you're going to love Seattle. Such a cool place. So beautiful in the spring and the summer. It's going to be amazing. All right, so we've got a few people showing up. I'm so annoyed with myself for messing this one up. And Monday was a complete disaster as well. So if any of you here are refugees from Monday's experience, I'm so sorry. I went live exactly at the point where Facebook crashed and Google had issues as well. And StreamYard, my streaming supplier, just also went bananas. So I ended up doing it over my mobile, which was quite frankly a really weird experience for me and for you. Oh, good. Modesta Trainers just showed up. So you were there on Monday. Yeah. Oh, it was awful. I was far too close for the camera. You all got to see my horrible lines on my forehead and then up my nostrils. It was just way too much GG for anybody to have to deal with. So at least I'm structurally back now. Forgot to actually set this live up last week. So it has not been my week as far as streaming lives is concerned. But hey, right, do you know what? I'm just going to get going, and whoever rocks up, rocks up. And if they don't rock up, then hey, they're missing out and you get all the GG love. So let's get going. I am Gigi. I am the Amazon interview whiz. I was a senior leader in Amazon for many years, and most particularly useful for all of you is I was an interview bar raiser. So the difference between a bar raiser and kind of the standard interviewer at Amazon is if you are interviewing just as part of your job at Amazon, which everybody does, chances are you'll really only interview around your immediate area. So if you're in finance, you'll probably only ever interview finance people and maybe a couple of marketing people or product people if you happen to work with them quite closely. And you're very likely to only be interviewing in your particular locale. So if you're in the US, chances are you'll only ever interview people from the US. So it's a relatively small slice of the pie that you'll be exposed to. A bar raiser gets the opportunity to interview across all different job families. So I've done legal, obviously marketing, communications, finance, supply chain, procurement, software development engineers, solutions architects, CX designers, all sorts of different roles. And all sorts of different countries, UK, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Turkey, Japan was cool, the US, obviously, Canada. So as a bar raiser, you get exposed to a much broader swathe of interviews and interviewing. I have hired hundreds of Amazonians, and I certainly know what it takes to get hired at Amazon. Since leaving Amazon about a year and a half ago now, I set up my own kind of Amazon interview ecosystem, let's call it. I was calling it an empire for a while, and then I realized that massively oversold it. So I call it an ecosystem. So my mission is to make Amazon interview expertise like mine accessible to everybody. When I was bar raising and interviewing, I could tell the people who had had expert coaching from insiders off the bat. They had the right language, they really understood the leadership principle, they knew which buttons to push, and they obviously did better than those that hadn't had that expert coaching. When I started to look at how much that type of coaching cost, I realized it was not cheap. $200, $250 an hour. And if you think about the amount of time you have to invest in preparing for an Amazon interview, that could be very expensive and out of the reach of most people. So I decided I would use digital to try and make my type of expertise accessible. So I have my YouTube channel, which obviously you all know. I'm also on LinkedIn, posting tips every single day. And I have my own academy where I offer really affordable, paid for digital courses that will teach you pretty much everything you need to know to do amazingly well at your Amazon interview. Part of my ecosystem is I do these free lives. So that's what we're here to do today. The way this works is I'm going to ask you to put your questions into the comments box at the side. What I'll do is I'll scroll through and I will try and find ones that I think are most useful for everybody. I'm not going to be able to answer very specific technical questions about very specific roles. Obviously, there are hundreds of different job families in Amazon. No one person could be an expert at the deep technical level for every single one of those. I'm absolutely an expert in the leadership principles. I'm absolutely an expert in interview strategy. I'm absolutely expert in the process, so I can cover off all of those things for you, but I might not be able to answer specific technical questions. Also, if you're just kind of here for general tips, please tell me some general tips for a program manager. Go to my YouTube channel. It's all there. Okay, please hang around until the end where I'm going to give you an amazing freebie that I promise you will make great use of. So don't go, stay around for that. I think that's everything I need to tell you. So let's just fire away. I'll say hello to people as they come on board because it's always nice to say hello and be nice, as well as picking up the questions along the way. So let's go. So first thing I'm just going to do, because now we've got a few people here, I want to just congratulate bitten, who just accepted their offer today, which is absolutely amazing. A little bit further down, I discover it's for a technical program manager role, which is incredible. Really challenging job to land because of the technical nature of the whole thing. So the competitive roles, amazing. You're off to Seattle. I am a little bit jealous because I do love Seattle. So congratulations. Crowd screams, delighted. I'm so delighted to have helped you, and yeah, have a great career. I know you will. Okay, let's move on then. What can we find? Okay, I'm just going to stop and read this one. Okay, right. Right. So, Chatali. So you've got 4 behavioral rounds and a technical round. Okay, so you're going for a technical role. Does in behavioral questions, I have to include all technical examples? Okay, if yes, can they ask me, okay, write this script and why not this data structure? Why not this one? Okay, so in the behavioral rounds, wherever possible, do try and give examples that relate to the role that you are applying for. So you don't have to use technical examples, but what you're talking about is the behaviors. So you can talk about examples of technical projects, but broadly speaking, you're going to be doing technical projects. But don't focus on the actual technical aspects, what solution specifically you chose, what design you chose, which data structures you chose. Don't go into that. What you're trying to do is talk about the behaviors. So if it's an earn trust question, talk about how you built relationships with your colleagues or how you mended a broken relationship with a customer, whatever it might be, but you're focusing on the behavioral elements of that technical project. So that said, from a follow-up question point of view, if it's the behavioral rounds, I very much doubt anyone's going to start nitpicking and asking you follow-up questions on why you chose a particular data structure, because what they're trying to do is understand your behaviors. So if they're asking you an earn trust question, the follow-up questions they're going to be asking you are going to be about earn trust, because that's the evidence that they're trying to pull out. It's much more likely that someone's going to ask you questions about the choices that you make about data structures when you're actually doing the technical rounds and they're asking you to solve a problem. That's where they'll start challenging you or asking you those specific questions about the technical choices that you're making. I hope that helps. Okay, moving on. Oh, we've got some new people. So, Odesi, hello, welcome. Okay, so, Odesi, how can you benefit from this? You have your panel next week. So, Odesi, first thing to do is go and look at my YouTube channel. So there's over 2.5 hours of completely free, very specific, very actionable content on my YouTube channel. That will help you prepare for interview. If you decide you want to be absolutely as prepared as you could possibly be and leave no stone unturned, I do have a Amazon interview preparation academy, which are some affordable paid for courses that can really deep dive into everything that you need to know about Amazon interviews. I'm going to give you a freebie at the end of this session of one of my masterclasses. So hang around, don't leave. You can pick up that freebie as well as obviously use my completely free YouTube channel. Welcome. Obviously, this is your first time. I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to ask questions and I will pick them up as we go along. Okay. Oh, cool. Mudassar trainer. Yes. Have I managed to sync up with Vivek for the SDM interview? Yes, I have. And it is on its way. He just picked up my Google Docs in the early hours of this morning. I was awake at 3 a.m. this morning looking at my phone. Tragic. I know. He's picked that up and we are working on the script. So it's going to be in the next week, maybe 2, where we get that live for you. But I promise we are working on it. Okay, and trust, I keep my promises. Let's move on then. What other questions do we have? Sayo's here. Come on, Sayo, am I allowed to give your news? Let me know if I'm allowed to give your news. Okay. All right. In general, how does the interviewer deal with a candidate who doesn't have the relevant experience but seems to have the potential for a role like SDM? Okay, so if you're interviewing for an SDM, having had half a conversation with Vivek about how the pathway to SDMs that we'll go into in more detail when we do our specific session, there are lots of different roles where you might transition into an SDM role. So a technical product manager might transfer into an SDM because the skills are much less about knowing code and more about your management skills. So how they'll deal with someone who doesn't necessarily have the experience of being a software development engineer is that really they're going to be focusing much more on your management skills and how you particularly manage people who have skills that you don't have. So that's quite a common question in Amazon when you're interviewing for a role where you don't have the specific skill set, but the people that are going to work for you do. One question you could be very, very likely to expect is one around, tell me about a time where you employed someone who had a skill that you didn't have, or tell me about a time where you worked with where one of your employees had a skill that you didn't have. How did you go about developing them in that you didn't have that skill? Or how did you go about benefiting from their knowledge of a skill that you didn't have? All those types of questions, but those would be pretty common to come out if you're applying for a role where you don't necessarily have the skill set, but would be managing people like in an SDM position who did have that skill set. So I hope that's helpful. And then when you get the Vivek one, it will be gold, I promise you. Okay, so moving on. Oh, right. So Sayo says, yes, you can, Gigi. So I mentioned a few seconds ago that I had heard from somebody else that they have managed to land themselves a role at Amazon, and that is the wonderful Sayo, who has been on my channel religiously, literally religiously for weeks now, putting in the time, putting in the effort, watched all of my content on YouTube, signed up to my Amazon Interview Wiz Academy as well, and has just told me that he has landed his role. So, yay! Crowd screams. So I get very excited. I'm sorry if you think this is a little bit too much, but I love to watch people evolve through the process. You know, people who put in the time, put in the effort, understand that you have to really invest in this process in order to be able to land the role. Now, don't get me wrong, there are unfortunately plenty of people who put in tons and tons of effort and still don't manage to secure the role. It is true, as in any interview process, a certain amount of luck plays a part in securing roles in Amazon as it does in any other interview process. So the effort doesn't always 100% guarantee the return, but you can bet your bottom dollar that lack of effort definitely will guarantee no return. So I'm really proud of you, Sayo. I'm so impressed with your commitment. Congratulations. I know you're going to have an absolutely awesome career at Amazon. So thank you for joining today so that I could share with everybody and share everyone else's congratulations with you. You definitely earned it. Congrats. I'm going to miss you. Oh, I'm going to miss you. Gonna cry. Okay, moving on then. Okay. So what else do we have? Okay, yeah, I can answer this question. I've had this a couple of times this week, which is unusual. I don't usually get this question, but you're not the first person to ask me this week. So, Chitali, does going through the interview profile through LinkedIn help? Sorry if I have a video for this. I don't think I actually have a video for this, but it got you nervous. So don't let it get you nervous. The truth is, Everybody expects it these days. We're all so visible on social media. Your interviewers will absolutely expect, once you've found out who they are, that you'll check out their LinkedIn profile. Do I think that it's going to materially help you in your interview? No, not really. It's always useful to get a sense of the face of the person that is going to be interviewing you, so it's not a surprise and they feel a little bit more familiar. And you might find a bit of information about them from a professional context that might be useful to you. But I'm afraid I do not purport to this rather popular school of find out bits of information about your interviewer and then drop it into the conversation, because it'll mean that they think that you're more like them and therefore they will like you more and therefore give you the job. It doesn't work that way at Amazon. You'll be employed at Amazon because you have the evidence to support the fact that you are bar raising for the key leadership principles for the role that you're interviewing for. And if you manage to work out that one of your interviewers likes soccer and drop in the fact that you used to be a semi-pro soccer player, is not going to make an ounce of difference to your likelihood of getting the job. So absolutely don't feel you can't check out their LinkedIn profile. I think you should. I think it's helpful to look at their faces and get some sense of where they're coming from if they put content on LinkedIn. But any of this kind of mamby-pambying around of trying to find some kind of connection between the two of you so that you can drop it into interview, I abhor. So that wouldn't be my recommendation. But don't be nervous about doing it. They won't think twice if they see your name pop up. Okay, hey, does intern jobs follow the same interview process? More or less, kind of in terms of what they look for and the type of questions they'll ask and being focused on the leadership principles, yes. The actual process itself, round 1, round 2, final loop, doesn't necessarily flow for intern roles. Graduate doesn't work like that. MBAs don't work like that. They're much more like kind of pods and days where you go through back-to-back interviews, and none of this round 1 and round 2. But in terms of what's important to Amazon and employing people based on their performance against leadership principles is always going to be consistent. Okay, I'll cover this one briefly. How can you prepare well for an Amazon phone interview? Watch my YouTube channel. And if you really want to be well prepared, sign up to my Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. Exactly what you'll be asked on your phone interview will depend completely on the role that you're going for. So I can't give you specifics there. Does Amazon relocate internationally? For some roles, yes. Usually you have to be applying for an L6 role for them to be willing to relocate you internationally. Different teams have different policies at the moment about international relocation. I believe that the US have a complete block on it at the moment because of COVID. I think there are other things going on between the European Union and Britain because of Brexit. So in principle, yes, L6 and above. In practical terms, it's going to vary massively depending on the country that you are applying for the role in and their current state and policy. Okay, relocation package completely dependent on the company, the country and the level. So couldn't comment on that. Okay, moving on then. What else do we have? Okay. So someone suggested you, before you go for an Amazon SDM, try other companies for similar roles, and finally, once you get the gut feeling, then go for Amazon. Well, this is about broad interview preparation strategy. And I don't think it just applies to Amazon. I think it applies to pretty much any interview process that you're going through. I advocate for practice. So although, look, plenty of internal recruiters and even agency recruiters are disgusted when they hear I say this, and I had an interesting exchange with someone on LinkedIn about this, if you want to go check out my LinkedIn history and see what that debate was about. But I believe that you should practice before you actually go for the interview that you really want, because interviewing, it's a skill. You have to practice it over and over, work out what you did wrong, and then optimize against that for the next time. So I say to people in general who I'm giving general coaching to, it's a good idea to find a number of different roles that you're interested in. Try and interview for the roles that you are less keen on to begin with. Use those as your kind of sandpit, your nursery bed. Optimize your, learn, fail, get feedback if you can, optimize your own performance. And then once you feel good about where you are performing in terms of interview, go for the role that you really, really want. Now, it doesn't always work that way because timings don't always work out, but I'm all for interviewing at other places before you interview at the place that you really want to work at. And that's as true for if you're applying to Amazon as if you're applying to any other organization. Again, not necessarily a popular view with recruiters, corporate recruiters or agency ones, but nonetheless, that is my advice to the candidate to optimize for their outcomes. Okay, Ashan. Okay, what is the grade of a senior HRBP? Is it senior in Amazon hierarchy? Well, define senior. I don't really understand what you mean by senior and how you're defining senior. A senior HRBP is an L6. There are 12 levels in Amazon. So I think kind of from a corporate point of view, there are more junior levels when you're in kind of the warehouses and the fulfillment centers. But from a corporate point of view, particularly kind of HR, the entry level role will be an L4, then it's L5, then it's L6, then it's an L7, which is a director. Sorry, then it's L7, which is a senior manager, and L8, which is a director, and L9, which is a VP, and L10, which is an SVP. I think there's an L11, which is another version of SVP, and then you've got Andy Jassy. So however you define senior, it's an L6. Okay, moving on then. Cool. So I've managed to make my way all the way to the bottom. So I'm just going to jump back up and see if there's any that I missed. Okay, Samaya. Okay, I missed your question, but purely because I can't give you that level of specificity that you want. So you're saying you've got a TAM role, which I think is a technical account manager, and you're asking me what you need to focus on for a technical role. So technical role, big term, hundreds of different technical roles. You said a technical account manager. I can't tell you specifically what to focus on for your phone interview for a technical account manager. There are 300 different job families in Amazon, and every single team focuses on different things for their different parts of their interview stages. So I don't know and cannot possibly know all of that. All I'll say is if you're going for a technical role, all probability is that the early rounds will be focused on testing your technical capabilities. So they will probably review your resume, ask you some questions to try and get a sense of your experience, your technical skills, and you may have a particular technical challenge in your early in your early rounds. Your recruiter will be able to tell you whether you've got a specific technical test happening or whether it's just going to be specific questions about the technical nature of your experience. Okay, scrolling back down then. Okay. Oh, hey, Odesi. Right, so you're going for an analyst role, okay. You've had a session with the recruiter, sure, okay. And then you've had with a hiring manager, so a round 1, and you've had your numeracy test. Okay, cool. And you've made it through all of those. Any pointers on what to expect on the panel? So if you've made it through all of the technical elements, Odesi, I would suspect for your panel, it's going to be very much focused on the behavioral questions. So you should be really focusing on understanding the leadership principles and aligning those leadership principles to your experience of the past, and then obviously preparing a really, really good, solid, structured answer in the STAR-E. If you don't know what STAR-E is, please check out my YouTube channel where for the video that is called The Hidden Leadership Principle That No One Else Will Tell You About. Lovely, pithy title. And focusing on those elements. So It's really going to be at this point about understanding your behaviors and whether you raise the bar on the leadership principles. I'm going to give you a free masterclass of my customer obsession leadership principle at the end. So do make use of that. I think as an analyst, you'd be very likely to be interviewed on customer obsession because you'll be supporting a whole bunch of teams and they effectively will be a customer of yours, as well as requiring you to think about the end customer. The other thing I'll say, Odesi, is go deep into your job description. So if you haven't already, get your job description and go through it line by line, by line, by line, by line, and try and identify the language in your job description that relates to the leadership principles. I offer this as a service, and you can ping me if you're interested in taking it up. Otherwise, there is a video on my YouTube channel where I did this live for candidates that you can go and check out, and you can see how I go through the job description and how I identify language associated with the leadership principle. So that's the other thing I would say, is get really, really close and intimate with your job description so that you can work out what the most important leadership principles are, so that you can really make sure you have your strongest examples for those leadership principles. Wishing you the very best of luck, Odesi. Okay, so moving on. I swear to God, these things, it just changes the orders of the questions. I think I've answered one and then I realized that anyway. Okay, right. So just doing a time check. So everybody, would you please do me a favor and like the video? So if you like the video, it makes a massive difference to my ability to surface in the algorithm. Difficult to break through that algorithm, and there is a load of trash that appears ahead of my content. I have no idea why on YouTube, but obviously it's really important for me that we get good signals into YouTube so that my content will surface. I put a lot of effort into this thing for you all, completely free. My request is please pay me back with a thumbs up. It's hopefully not too much to ask for 2 seconds of your time to just thumbs up the video. So why don't we all just collectively take a couple of seconds and go and thumbs up the video. So I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to say, please go and like the video. So don't run away. 1, 2, 3, like the stream, like the stream, like the stream, like the stream, like the stream. Also, anyone on playback, playing this replay, please like the stream. Please, in return for what I do for you. Hopefully that's not too much to ask of you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, anyone who did do that. I can't tell on my streaming software how many and who did, but I'm going to assume you all did that for me, given I'm doing this for you. Thank you. So moving on. Okay. Yep. Hey, JB, welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. So welcome, welcome. So after your first phone screen, you got rejected, but you didn't get any feedback on what areas you're lacking. Is that normal? It is normal. Amazon's policy is they do not provide feedback, particularly not on the early rounds. If you make it all the way through to loop, you might get some feedback. Some recruiters will give a little bit of feedback. Some will give nothing. It's Amazon's policy not to provide feedback. 2 main reasons why. The first is a bit of an urban myth. Apparently they used to, but then a couple of candidates heard something they didn't like and got a little bit litigious. The other angle is one I believe much more and support, which is as an interviewer, you have to feel completely free to say anything that you need to say openly to get the right outcome for the candidate and the organization. And if you're concerned that your words might find their way back to a candidate and that the candidate might be able to link those words back to you, you might be less willing to be as open and honest as really you need to be to optimize the process, because we are all so exposed and so available on social media. You can imagine it wouldn't be many candidates, but it wouldn't take two, it would only take 1 or 2 to start following up on interviewers and being unhappy with the outcome and the assumption of what they believe that interviewer said, for it to become a very uncomfortable situation for interviewers. So I know it really, really sucks for candidates, and I feel for candidates on that score, but I do believe that it is the right policy to protect interviewers and obviously protect shareholders. Okay, so JB, I do have actually a video on my YouTube channel which talks about how you can gather your own feedback. So please go and check that out, because that is really important and it's a very, very useful technique. So go check that one out. Islam, thank you for liking the video. I appreciate that. Okay. Is it viewed negatively if you don't reach out to your assigned client lead prior to panel? No, no. I mean, they probably love you because they're so busy. The last thing they want to do is actually deal with candidates. So they'll love you if they don't have to put time into you. But your recruiter, your client lead, plays no part in the interview process. They'd have no say in whether you get hired or don't get hired. So I wouldn't worry about it. If you need them, then you should use them, right? They are going to be your friend in the process. They want you to get hired because they basically get rewarded if you get hired. So if you do have questions, I would absolutely recommend leveraging your recruiter to try and get answers to those questions. But at the end of the day, they have no say in whether you get hired or not. So as long as you're not rude to them, then, they're neither kind of here nor there. Okay, what else do we have? I answered all your questions for you, did I, CMK? That's cool. I'm pleased. Okay, yes. Hey, Sophia. So you've got a phone interview with a hiring manager tomorrow. Cool, exciting. If you make it to panel, would you be expected to ask questions to each interview at the end of each round? Well, you're definitely given the opportunity to ask questions. Are you expected to use that opportunity? Yes. I mean, why would you not? If you're thinking about joining an organization and you've got a whole bunch of people in front of you who work in that organization, why would you not use that opportunity to gather data from those individuals to help you make a decision if they were to offer you the job, whether this is the type of job, manager, team, company you want to work in? I was always extremely surprised if a candidate told me they had no questions, because surely you've got hundreds of questions to ask if you're going to join a new organization, down to, do you all go for lunch together, if that matters to you, to holiday policy, to all sorts of different things. So, Sophia, are you expected to? It's not a prerequisite, but if you don't ask questions, I can guarantee that the panel will start talking about that and debrief and be very surprised that you're not trying to gather data to make a decision, because everything at Amazon is about gathering data to make decisions. And if you're not gathering data to make a really, really important decision for your own life, it does create question marks as to whether you are Amazonian. So hopefully that was useful. What else do we have here? Okay, so Zishan, I'm going to point you towards a video on my YouTube channel from a gentleman called Vivek. It's specifically about SDE interviewing. It's really, really detailed about what you need to prepare. I also provide a support sheet with it. There's a completely free PDF that goes along with it. You can find the link to that PDF in the details of the video, and that pretty much answers everything you need to know about preparing for your SDE part of your interviews process. Will the system design part be the bar raiser? Not necessarily. The bar raiser isn't necessarily the person that's going to be testing you on system design. The bar raiser is supposed to be the person that holds the bar for the behavioral part of the interview process. So your bar raiser may not even be involved at all with the actual technical elements of your interview process. Okay. Just check. AKS car. Oh, you've just joined my academy. Oh, welcome. Thank you very much. And you can see where you need to improve. Good. I'm glad that it's helpful. 2 full loops. Okay. Right. So you're on your 3rd attempt, fit for Amazon, but not for the role or team. So AKS, you really, really, really need to look at the job description. Okay. So in general, it sounds like you are a good all-rounder and they feel like that you could be raising the bar if you were in the right role. So you need to look at your job description and look at the key leadership principles that surface most commonly in your job description, because if you can nail those, then you should be able to prove to them that you are bar raising in the key leadership principles for that role. So do a deep dive on it. I don't know which of my packages you got, AKS, but the interview preparation masterclass has a section in it where I demonstrate how to deconstruct your job description. You can also find a video on my YouTube channel where I did that live for a whole bunch of people a couple of weeks ago. So head on over and check that out, because that's going to be really important to you. You're so close. If you've done 2 loops and they say you're a fit for Amazon, you are so close. So do find out what those key LPs are and absolutely nail them. Scope and complexity. Okay. Again, that you'll recognize that terminology if you watch the masterclass on the interview preparation, where I start to talk about scope and complexity and the importance of it. Those will be your keys to the kingdom. Okay, so just scrolling back up to see if there's anything that I missed. Do please keep asking questions. If you haven't already, please do like the video. It makes a big difference to the success of my channel. I put a lot into it to help you. Please do this little thing in return for me and like the video. Okay. Right. So I'm going to put this question up just because I just love this person's username. I'm going to put it up here. Banana in condom. That is your username. I've seen some great usernames over my time doing these things, but I think that really takes the biscuit. That's genius. Or has your child come in and changed your username? I did have that one on a candidate a few weeks ago where their kid had come in and completely changed their username and image. They didn't know until they logged on. It was hilarious. But I'm going to assume that you chose this, which is absolutely fine. Do I have any material for a system engineer? So I don't provide technical materials on the Amazon Interview Wiz Academy because there are just so many different job families. It would just be an impossible task to create specific materials for every single different role at a technical level. But what I will say to you, banana in condom, and I have to keep saying banana in condom because it just amuses me so much. Everything that's on my channel will be relevant for a system engineer, because every single person who goes through any type of interview at Amazon has to deal with the behavioral side. You have to raise the bar on the leadership principles to get a role at Amazon. It's almost more important than your technical skills. In many roles, the manager will say, if you're raising the bar on the leadership principles, that they can teach you the technical skills. It's much harder to teach people an ethos, which is essentially what the leadership principles are. So all of my content will be useful for a system engineer. It will be important for a system engineer, but I don't have specific technical materials for systems engineers. Okay. The story down here, banana in condom, about how you ended up with this username. Don't apologize. I found it very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. Oh dear. Oh, quickly, AKS car. Okay, so you've got my ultimate. You're not taking chances. Good decision. Good decision. Come to my Q&A session. We have an Academy members only kind of clinic that will happen this Monday coming on our Discord community, and we can actually have a chat, a conversation backwards and forwards. So if you have questions, come to that. Hopefully it's not after your next interview, and you and I can have a little direct chat if there are specific questions you'd like covered. Okay. Right. Any more questions for anybody? Let me just check. Time check. We've got 45 minutes left. 45 minutes left, 15 minutes yet. And I'm starving. I haven't had my dinner yet. Okay. So if we don't have any more questions, I don't think I've missed any. Okay, in which case I will give you all the incredible freebie. And I promise you, this is an amazing freebie. No one will give you quality content like this completely free in the way that I do, with absolutely no strings attached. Right, so there we go. So if you go to, oh, I'm so pleased I got it the right way around, AmazonInterviewWizAcademy.com, you can go and claim your completely free customer obsession masterclass. And this is what you'll get in this masterclass, completely free, no strings attached. I'll tell you about the 4 facets of customer obsession. Now, facets is a concept that I created based on my hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Amazon interviews and listening to candidates. The leadership principles are complex, but they do break down quite nicely into different facets. Customer obsession has the most facets: coaching, challenging, anticipating, and championing. It will tell you all about that. It will tell you exactly what your interviewer is looking for in your customer obsession answers. And it will show you a mock interview of me interviewing me so that you can see how you go about landing those behaviors in an interview context. I give it to you completely free. No follow-up marketing. I know that's what most freebies are all there for. No follow-up marketing at all. I want you to like my content and like it enough to invest, as AKS has in other products. But if you don't, that's your gig. I give you the customer obsession one because I know every single one of you will get asked customer obsession questions at some point in your interview process. So, we have a few more questions that have popped up. So I'm just going to pop back to those. I'll leave my URL up. Let me just have a quick look. Okay. So I'm just reading through them to see if I can get something. Okay, Moon Baby 2. Oh, that's cute. All right, Moon Baby 2. So the first bit is you went for a role, the final interviewer never showed up for the phone interview. Okay. You had to reach out, and you were told that they were no longer moving forward. Lead wrote to me that they would advise what role I was a fit for, but never did. What does that mean? It just looks like you've got pipped at the post. So the way the Amazon interview process works is that, I think I'm understanding this right, that you were in the mid-process and somebody just didn't show up. It's a conveyor belt. So it's not like everybody applies, there's a closing date, then they filter through the CVs, then resumes, then there's a round one and they compare everybody. It doesn't work like that. It's this constant conveyor belt of people coming into the process and going out of the process. And it sounds like somebody got the job before you managed to complete the process, and therefore the job was closed. And they said that they were going to see if there were any other roles that were suitable for you, but your recruiter is busy, and effectively, if you're not a good fit for any of their roles, chances are that they're not going to invest time in trying to find you a role. The job of a recruiter is to find people for roles, not roles for people. So if you haven't already Moon Baby 2, you should just be proactive and go and see if there are any other roles that you're interested in Amazon and apply for those directly. Okay. Sumaya, do you need to prepare behavioral type leadership principle questions for the telephone interview for a technical role, or is it loop interviews only? Yeah, you should be prepared. You should definitely be prepared to get a behavioral question. It may not happen, but it may. So it's always best to be prepared. Usually I would expect the early rounds of a technical process to be much more focused on the technical side, so biased towards technical, and maybe one behavioral question. But obviously you can't predict which behavioral question that will be, so you're going to have to prepare, unfortunately, for all of them. But you must be prepared to answer behavioral questions from the very, very start. Okay, right. Okay, good question here. How many of the interviewers must be inclined to obtain an offer? Do they come to consensus? No, there is no requirement for consensus, and there is no requirement for a minimum number of interviewers to be inclined. I know there's many companies that work that way. Amazon doesn't. The final decision is made by the bar raiser, effectively. Only two people's view really matters, and that is the hiring manager and the bar raiser. Everybody else gets to have an opinion. Everybody else gets to submit their data, and their data is consumed and is considered as important and relevant as the data consumed and provided by the hiring manager and the bar raiser. The bar raiser will do whatever they can to get everybody to consensus, but it isn't a requirement. At the end of the day, it only takes the hiring manager and the bar raiser to be aligned to make a hire decision. If the hiring manager wants to hire, but the bar raiser is not convinced, they can pull out what's called a veto and say, no, I'm sorry, this candidate isn't coming in. If the hiring manager doesn't want to hire them, but the bar raiser does think they raised the bar, they're still unlikely to get hired because no bar raiser is going to force a hiring manager to take a candidate that they don't want. I know that's a very different process, but that is the way that Amazon works. Okay. Okay, Anchor, briefly, you've got an audit role coming up, any leadership principles that you need to keep in mind. So every single role is different. Like there's no single set of leadership principles that I could tell you apply for a program manager or a product manager or an audit or a finance manager. There are obviously some that are more obvious, like finance frugality. But every single role has a different set of requirements for the leadership principles because it changes so dramatically depending on the business unit, the nascency, the organization as a whole, the specific line manager, what they need that person to do. So I can't give you tips on what specific leadership principle to be focusing on. I can tell you, you have to look at your job description. You must drill down into your job description. It will all be there. I promise you, I have done lots of job description reviews for many, many different candidates. And I can tell you it's very clear to me anyway, because I know the leadership principles, they always come through in the job description. So Anchor, go back to my channel. There is a video on there where I did some job description reviews live. So go check that out and you'll see how I do it. Go to your job description and dig to find out which your key leadership principles are. I can offer it as a service. If you're interested, just check out the video. There's links on the bottom of the video that tell you how to go about securing my services for that deep dive. Okay. Oh, another question. Okay. Is the telephone interview usually by the hiring manager? So yes, broadly speaking, and this is of course broadly speaking, a hiring manager will want to get involved in the process as high up the funnel as possible, because if they don't think you're capable of doing the job, there is just no point in getting a whole bunch of Amazonians to invest hours and hours and hours of their time downstream in interviewing you if they don't feel that you are going to raise the bar. So usually the hiring manager interviews at either round 1 or round 2. Now, I, as a hiring manager, preferred to interview at round 2 because it was more efficient. The drop-off rate at round 1 is really, really high. Usually only, based on my experience, 2 out of 10 would make it through to round 2. And therefore, if I was an L7, a senior hiring manager, spent all of my time interviewing with a success rate of only 20%, that is super inefficient. So I would usually have one of my direct reports interview for round 1. And then if they felt the person was strong enough, they could then pass them through to me for round 2. I would test the bar at that point to make sure that I wasn't sending kind of people down to loop who were never going to make it, and that would happen. So I would go for like 90% of the time a hiring manager will get involved at the early stages of the interview process. Okay, don't hold me to that, but there's a finger in the air, 90%. Okay, so any more questions before I sign off? I'm just going to quick squiz back. I just keep coming across banana in condoms. It's like question, AKS, question, banana and condom, AKS, banana and condom, banana and condom. I wonder if I'm going to get censored by YouTube for this one, actually. That'll be interesting to see whether they block this stream. I don't think so. There's nothing bad about that, is there? It's just like facts. And bananas, noun, condoms, noun. I'll be fine. All right. So on that note, thank you so much for that. That really did tickle my fancy. I'm going to let you all depart. So don't forget, once more, I'm going to put this banner up. Seriously, go and get this Leadership Principle Masterclass. It's honestly priceless and it's free, and I won't chase you with follow-up marketing. Like, why would you not take it out? So please go enjoy it. And on that note, I will sign off for the day. Thank you very much. As I said, please do like the stream. If you haven't liked the stream yet, then as soon as you log off, just give it a quick little tap, like milliseconds of your time in return for my time would be greatly appreciated. So for all of you who have interviews coming up, I wish you the very, very best of luck. For those of you who managed to land roles, Sayo and bitten today, congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you. I don't know whether my pride means anything to you, but nonetheless, I'm very proud. Congratulations. Thank you very much for being here. Take care, everyone. I will be back again, hopefully more organized on Monday at 5:30 British Summer Time. Still British Summer Time, just. Be safe, take care. The world is still mad, so look after yourselves and look after your families. Thank you for joining. See you soon. Take care.